Beyonce for sure. I love her. I love Beyonce. Jay-Z too, I really admire the both of them.
Genius.
Beyonce.
Gorgeous. A stab to my self-esteem.
In 2016, Rihanna's entire album was stolen, and the prime suspect might have been her biggest rival. That was the year everything changed for pop music's hierarchy. Days before the official release, Rihanna's Anti suddenly leaked on Tidal, Jay-Z's streaming empire, throwing her entire rollout into chaos. Rihanna didn't sugarcoat her feelings either. She called it a nightmare on social media, her team scrambling to contain the damage while the Navy went to war online. But before anyone could catch their breath or figure out who really spilled the music, Beyoncé dropped Lemonade just weeks later. The timing wasn't subtle. One powerhouse's crisis had barely cooled before the other dominated every headline, leaving Anti and its drama buried beneath the cultural avalanche of Lemonade's release.
Well, let me know. And that's the problem that I have with this whole situation. But I am going to save this conversation for Jay-Z. Jay-Z, you're watching. I know you're watching, but you got people calling me. Stop having people call me. You can call me yourself. You know how to get my number. You know you got people calling me. Call me yourself, because this right here is going to go viral. The way my job works on the internet, everybody's going to be clipping, sharing on TikTok. Watch this.
Now here's where the whisperers turned into sirens. Insiders claimed Beyoncé's team had direct access to Tidal's backend. Allegedly, some on the tech side noticed that user privileges extended way beyond what any normal artist received. This wasn't just a case of bad luck, they said. The question was whether the anti-leak was sabotage or just a perfectly timed accident that handed Beyoncé an open runway for her own blockbuster. Rihanna's frustration with the leak was no secret. She publicly called out the disaster, and behind closed doors, her camp reportedly pointed fingers at Tidal's inner circle. The only problem? The company was owned and operated by Jay-Z, the man who first discovered her, and the husband of her supposed rival. At the time, nobody could say for sure whether this was industry infighting, a technical slip, or something darker. But the aftershocks set off an entire new wave of speculation. Because this wasn't just about who owned the charts. For both Beyoncé and Rihanna, it was about survival. Anti was the most personal album Rihanna had made, and Lemonade would go on to redefine Beyoncé's image. 2 careers, 2 albums, 1 streaming platform, and a leak that looked too clean to be a coincidence. Suddenly, fans and observers alike started combing through every detail, every Instagram like, every rumor about who really pulled the strings at Tidal. The stakes? Billboard rankings, Grammy nominations, and reputations for both of the biggest female artists of the decade. We've seen industry sabotage before, but the scale here was unprecedented. There were too many people with too much to lose, and too much money riding on the outcome.
Jay-Z's also been linked or connected in doing business with him. Now, Jay-Z has also been tied to Diddy through rumors and longtime allegations and conspiracies. We've all seen them online, like the one that claims Jay-Z allegedly cheated on Beyonce with Cassie.
But the pressure on Rihanna didn't start in 2016. The real undercurrent had been building for years, underneath all the carefully posed photos and staged reunions. To understand how deep this feud might go, we have to rewind to 2011, when a different tragedy hit Jay-Z's inner circle. Kathy White, a 28-year-old publicist, was found unresponsive in her New York apartment just 48 hours after Beyoncé announced her pregnancy with Blue Ivy. Her official cause was an aneurysm, but NYPD detectives called the situation uncertain, and those all-important toxicology reports somehow disappeared. Kathy White was no random casualty. She had been rumored for years to be one of Jay-Z's secret companions, a storyline that followed him from the club tables of LA to the industry parties in Manhattan. In the weeks before her tragedy, Kathy had allegedly threatened to go public about her affair with Jay-Z. According to close sources, she even called him to deliver the ultimatum herself, and that call happened only days before she passed. The tabloids pounced. Claudia Jordan, a well-known host and Kathy's friend, claimed on record that Jay-Z wanted her out of the picture. Then, almost as soon as Beyoncé's pregnancy became public, Kathy White was gone. Suddenly, conspiracy theories weren't just bubbling on forums, they were being whispered at every event in the industry. Was Kathy White trying to extort Jay-Z? Did she really have something on him, or was her connection to the Carters just gossip? The NYPD detective in charge said we'll have the autopsy and toxicology reports, but those results vanished. There's no official explanation, but there's also never been a closure that satisfied anyone paying attention. That silence from the authorities only added fuel to a situation that was already running hot. Kathy White's friends publicly mourned, but behind the scenes, suspicion never faded. Her ties to Jay-Z weren't denied by his camp, but the story was always minimized, written off as a rumor. The truth? There's no definitive answer. But the timing? days after a threatened reveal, right as Beyoncé took center stage with a new heir, made the entire industry sit up and wonder who really runs the narrative when power, fame, and family collide.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce.
That brings us back to Rihanna, whose own journey through the Jay-Z orbit started back in 2005 when she signed with Def Jam. At just 17, she was discovered by producer Evan Rogers, flown in for a now infamous audition, and signed by Jay-Z himself, who reportedly kept her in the office until her contract was done. That move put Rihanna directly in the middle of one of the most powerful couples in entertainment, and ever since, she's walked a tightrope between mentor, mogul, and rival. But the triangle didn't really explode until Jonathan Hay, Rihanna's first publicist, admitted in 2023 to fabricating a rumor about a secret relationship between Rihanna and Jay-Z. According to Hay, he was desperate to get her first single noticed. He pitched the story of a supposed affair between Jay-Z, Rihanna, and Beyoncé, a triangle tailor-made for headlines. The rumor spread instantly. Suddenly, every camera lens was trained on Rihanna, and Beyoncé's fans declared all-out war.
But Diddy parties and Diddy After Dark are two different things. I want to go on record of saying I never saw Jay-Z at a Diddy After Dark party. Then again, I wasn't there, so I don't know who was there. But I know that I saw Jay-Z at the Diddy party.
But here's the kicker. Hay's publicity stunt went nuclear. Not only did it draw attention, but it also drew the feds. Hay has since said that federal agents interrogated him, asking specifically about Jay-Z's private encounters with underage Rihanna. It was no longer just tabloid fodder. Now, law enforcement was actively following leads about one of the industry's most powerful men. Hay claims he tried to explain it was all a stunt, but the FBI wasn't convinced. According to him, the investigation into Jay-Z's activities continued, raising even more uncomfortable questions about who really had something to hide and who was being protected. Whether any of these allegations held water, the effect was chilling. Everyone in Jay-Z's orbit knew that the price of bad publicity was now sky high. The implications for Rihanna were immediate. From that point, every move she made, every accolade she collected, and every chart she climbed came under even closer scrutiny. Insiders whispered that Beyoncé never fully forgave her for the rumors, even if they weren't true. The relationship, always awkward for the cameras, became even more transactional. Industry observers noted how often the two avoided each other at public events, and how rarely they acknowledged each other outside of carefully orchestrated appearances. Sources familiar with the Tidal press conferences in 2015 say the tension was obvious. Handlers went to ridiculous lengths to keep the two divas apart backstage, even as they smiled for forced group photos. As one insider told Naughty Gossip at the time, they refused to stand next to each other or speak with each other. The whole show was carefully choreographed, and these two had almost nothing to do with each other. In other words, why would they get in a... But the drama didn't just stay on stage. In 2016, when Anti was snubbed for major Grammy nominations, Rihanna's fans exploded. The Navy accused the Recording Academy of protecting Beyoncé by refusing to let Rihanna compete for Song or Album of the Year. Rihanna herself liked a viral post that accused the Grammys of cheating her to protect Beyoncé's record. When called out, Rihanna insisted it was all just a coincidence. "I'm petty AF, yes, but this is just unnecessary," she wrote online. She urged fans to stop pitting black women against each other. Still, the moment lit up social media for weeks, and the speculation that Beyoncé's camp had the power to pull industry strings wouldn't fade away.
Still. And then you have celebrities like a Jay-Z. And this is where I think the whole fallout with the Beyoncé, she's just kind of in the crosshairs because of all of what's going on in the media with respect to Jay-Z and stuff. But with Jay, you know, when he complained at the Grammys about the Grammys not giving Beyoncé Artist of the Year, when she's the most decorated Grammy-winning artist ever, we invited him to be honored at our award show.
Meanwhile, the real-world stakes kept rising. Every time someone in the media compared the two women, the fallout was immediate and severe. Just before Rihanna's 2023 Super Bowl performance, sports commentator Stephen A. Smith made the mistake of saying Rihanna ain't Beyoncé. Within weeks, Jay-Z was on the phone with him, reminding him that in this business, comparing icons is a dangerous game. Smith later explained that Jay-Z told him, "That's family. That's too close to say that. It's a business. You don't know how she'll receive it." Smith's apology went viral, but the message was clear. Criticize the balance of power, and the people at the top notice. All of this brings us to a new question. Was Rihanna's leaked album a warning or a trap? The real story might not be about who pushed the button, but about who needed to send a message, and what that message really was. Because in this world, the biggest threat isn't always competition, it's silence. As the legal fallout around Jay-Z and his circle intensifies and as old scandals re-emerge in the wake of Diddy's legal troubles, the pattern becomes harder to ignore. When Cassie White allegedly threatened to reveal her story, she vanished before anyone could hear her side. When Jonathan Hay tried to manufacture controversy, he found himself facing federal agents who were more interested in protecting reputations than chasing the truth. Now, with the shadow of title leaks, industry sabotage, and buried investigations, we can't ignore the possibility that every misstep is really a warning. The real question isn't just who leaked Rihanna's album, it's who wanted her silenced and why. Because for the first time, the cost of speaking out in this circle seems to be more than just a lost headline.
Weirdo. I don't get no what you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me. Ever.
And with the music industry's most powerful family facing a wave of lawsuits, extortion claims, and an increasingly aggressive online detective squad, the next revelation is never more than a click away. We're not just watching a feud between two pop titans. We're watching a chess match where every move has life-altering consequences, and where the line between rumor and reality gets thinner every day. The question now is whether the secrets being kept are about loyalty, survival, or something even riskier. Because the deeper we look, the more we find ties that connect every scandal, every leak, and every unsolved mystery right back to the same tight circle of influence. By 2023, the stakes had exploded, and so had the scandals. The world barely had time to catch its breath before the headlines turned nuclear. This time, Jay-Z wasn't just fielding the usual cheating rumors or questions about shady industry deals. He was named directly in a civil suit that accused him of participating in a vile act at the turn of the millennium, with Diddy standing at the center of a new legal inferno. The details were chilling. A now-adult woman claimed that, back in 2000, she was taken from an MTV after-party, handed a drink that made her woozy, then assaulted by Jay-Z and Diddy while a female celebrity watched. The documents described the events in blunt detail, and Jay-Z's response was as combative as it gets. He called the case an attempted shakedown, telling the world, "My lawyer received a blackmail attempt, called a demand letter from a lawyer." The suit came amid a tidal wave of new cases against Diddy, with Jay-Z fighting back, not just in court, but in the court of public opinion. What's wild is that in the storm of new lawsuits, conspiracy threads, and legal statements, old stories started to resurface with a vengeance. Cassie White's name trended on social media again. Her 2011 tragedy became more than just sad history. Suddenly, people began asking if Cassie's fate had set a precedent for how the industry deals with inconvenient women. Her tragedy wasn't just a loss. To some, it looked like a warning shot, a demonstration of what happens to those who threaten the wrong people at the wrong time. An NYPD detective admitted at the time that her cause was uncertain, and those missing toxicology reports started to sound less like an accident and more like a script. If Cassie had been preparing to go public, if her story was about to break open a scandal, did her sudden tragedy give others a roadmap for how to contain fallout? We can't know for sure, but one thing is clear. Her absence became a blueprint for how secrets are managed at the highest levels.
I know so much on how you got where you are, how you stepped on many people.
And while that kind of darkness haunted the shadows, in the spotlight a new financial war was taking shape, one with billion-dollar consequences. Rihanna wasn't just a star anymore, she was an industry unto herself. Her Fenty beauty line smashed records, making her a billionaire almost overnight. It wasn't just another vanity project. Fenty rewrote the rules for celebrity brands and proved Rihanna's reach stretched far beyond music. Then came the 2023 Super Bowl halftime show, a performance that drew more eyes than the game itself and left everyone from devoted sports fans to casual TikTok scrollers in awe. In the weeks that followed, industry insiders started to whisper that Beyoncé's camp wasn't exactly celebrating Rihanna's victories. Allegedly, the numbers outshining Lemonade-era BA stung more than a little. Even more so when Rihanna pulled off a billion-dollar year without even releasing a new album.
I hear that you're a big fan of Beyonce.
Of course, the Grammy snub was still fresh in everyone's mind. Rihanna bagged 8 nominations for Anti, her most ambitious record to date, but none for Album or Song of the Year. Navy fans screamed sabotage, convinced the Recording Academy wanted to avoid a head-to-head showdown between Rihanna and Beyoncé. Beyoncé, on the other hand, swept up 9 nods for Lemonade, including all the top categories. Was the Academy protecting Queen Bey, or was it simply a coincidence of timing and taste? We all know how fans can take a theory and run with it, but in this case, the numbers lined up a little too perfectly. The tension between the two camps was as obvious as ever, with Rihanna's Instagram like of a post slamming the snub, igniting another round of online battle. Then came the moment that showed just how closely these worlds were colliding. In January 2023, Stephen A. Smith, never one to shy away from a hot take, declared live on air that Rihanna's Super Bowl wouldn't compare to Beyoncé's. The backlash was instant. Less than a month later, Jay-Z himself was reportedly on the phone, shutting down the controversy with a short, sharp message. "That's family. That's too close." Smith relayed the exchange, and it was clear that the boundaries around these women and the men in their circles were strictly policed. What most people didn't see was what happened behind the scenes. The phone calls, the warnings, the gentle but unmistakable reminders about who was untouchable and who was not. The drama wasn't just about music or performance, it was about image, loyalty, and the unspoken hierarchy of the celebrity elite. But the latest claims going around the industry have nothing to do with concerts or cosmetic sales. According to sources close to both teams, Beyoncé's camp allegedly pressured Rihanna to put distance between herself and Jay-Z's mounting scandals. The logic was simple and ruthless, with lawsuits and rumors threatening to drag everyone in the orbit. Anyone who stood too close risked being burned by association. Sources say Beyoncé's team pressured Rihanna to distance herself from Jay-Z's scandals or risk being dragged down with him. That's the sort of line that turns private feuds into public blood sport. If you want to survive, you don't just outwork the competition, you outmaneuver them at every turn, even if it means drawing lines between mentors and protégés or between friendship and cold survival.
And I'm not saying allegedly.
Oh.
I'm saying, Sean Carter, you're a piece of shit. Taking Pimp C wasn't bad enough. You just want to go down there and you want to just remove all of the balls from every real gangster in Houston.
Rihanna's success, it seemed, wasn't just a threat to Beyoncé's crown, it became a liability. Suddenly, the billionaire pop queen was the most unpredictable variable in an industry obsessed with control. Her every win put pressure on the Carters, and her every public move risked becoming a headline. For Beyoncé, the problem wasn't just about losing the #1 spot, it was about losing control of the narrative, about watching as another woman built an empire with zero apologies and no need for permission. The more Rihanna succeeded, the more fragile the old alliances became. Meanwhile, the title leak from 2016, once dismissed as a technical mishap, started to look more and more like a power play. The closer we look, the more questions pile up. Did Beyoncé's team exploit the title breach to test Rihanna's loyalty? Or was it Jay-Z, reminding everyone who owned the platform, and by extension, who owned the narrative? Some insiders even theorized that the leak was never meant to destroy Rihanna's album, but to see how quickly she'd fall in line when reminded of where her bread was buttered. Others point to the fact that the very next move out of Tidal was the bombshell Lemonade rollout, leaving Anti-Lost in the wave. Either way, the signal was clear. Nobody gets to outshine the throne without consequences, and if you want to survive, you play your part and keep your secrets.
There was no internet, people taking pictures of you and putting your personal life or exploiting your personal life as entertainment. I think people are so brainwashed. You get up in the morning, you click on the computer, you see all these pictures, and it's all you think of is the picture and the image that you see all day, every day.
For all the supposed sisterhood and public statements about lifting each other up, the industry machinery behind these two superstars is ruthless. Contracts, NDAs, and whispered threats travel faster than gossip. Loyalty is measured not in public collaborations, but in the silences, in the deals made in back rooms, in the decisions to turn a blind eye when scandals break. Rihanna, despite her global empire and massive fan base, still exists in a landscape where every misstep can be weaponized, every win can be recast as a challenge, and every association can turn toxic in a heartbeat. The higher the stakes, the more dangerous the game. And as the legal drama around Diddy and Jay-Z drags on, with new names being added to lawsuits and old scandals being re-examined, the pressure is only increasing. Rihanna's team has remained officially silent on the new allegations, but behind closed doors, sources say meetings have gotten tense. The real question is, if more stories surface, if new lawsuits name more names, or if evidence finally leaks, will Rihanna risk her empire to defend a mentor? Or will she make the cold calculation to save herself, as so many before her have done?
Beyonce and Jay-Z will do anything to destroy anyone who speaks out against them.
There is no sign that the war for pop's top spot is cooling off. If anything, the next generation of drama is already in motion, with the line between ally and adversary as thin as ever. Fans keep waiting for a collaboration, a public reconciliation, a sign that the queens have buried the hatchet. But the truth is, this isn't just a feud, it's a chess match, with real-world consequences. The next move could be anything: a lawsuit, a tell-all, a secret deal, or another mysterious leak. The only certainty is that nobody is safe, not when secrets are the most valuable currency in the room. In this game, secrets are currency, and loyalty is the first casualty. So when the next scandal drops, whose side will Rihanna be on? And more importantly, whose side will Jay-Z choose? Sound off in the comments and let us know which queen you think will come out on top, or if there's another plot twist none of us saw coming. Until next time, stay sharp, keep watching The Throne, and remember, in the world of celebrity power, it's never really over.